Okay, so maybe we should start. So welcome everyone to another UWC Unlocked Talk. I haven't been on them for a while, so it's really nice to be back, and it's lovely to see all of you and some people who I know and haven't seen for a very long time, like Katharina, and some people I live in the same city with but don't see enough, like Joseph at the moment. So very nice to see all of you on the screen. Clara and I are especially excited about today's talk because it's our first year who is going to talk. And so we are, yay! And so we are very grateful to have Juan Pablo with us. I'll introduce him in a second. I think most of you are now UWC Unlocked veterans, so no big need to repeat the rules. So let me introduce Juan Pablo to you, although many of you will probably know him. So originally from Argentina, he then started his career in the UK and Spain and is now based close to Hollywood. And he has appeared in all sorts of films which many of us will have seen. And that includes Mamma Mia, where he did work together with Meryl Streep, which I think is just like the biggest claim to fame. He appeared in the Catherine Tate Show and then also in very different films like A.D. The Bible Continues. And very lately he has been in Fuller House, which many will have seen, and was one of the big stars in Dancing with the Stars. But as I think we will find out today, his absolute highlight of his career already happened back in 1999, I think, when he performed the Grease musical while at UWC of the Adriatic in Italy. And of course, he was always already quite known also for all his various talents. And I think he will talk to you about it during his presentation when we were in college together. But when I told him that I would introduce him today, what I did not tell him that, of course, I can't do that with a certain amount of picture material. And so I'm just going to share my screen for a second and just show you two of the insights of what Juan Pablo was at UWC. So that you can see that he already held true to his dancing fame back in the days. So this was at the Ibero-American Evening in 1997. And this was at the same evening, and I think actually the friend of mine who is in that picture is probably going to kill me if she knew that I'm going to show the picture to so many people. But anyway, so this was Juan Pablo at UWC, and I quite desperately tried to find slightly more embarrassing pictures of him, but I couldn't. So well done, Juan Pablo. Even back then we didn't manage to take them.
I have plenty to show you, don't worry.
Okay, and so with that, over to you. And welcome again, everybody. And thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for that, Hannah. And I'm so happy that we got to talk. I'm also incredibly nervous because I'm not qualified to talk about anything really, because I'm just another person in quarantine here. And but anyway, I just wanted to kind of sort of well, maybe talk a little bit about myself and what my journey with this idea of creativity and expression has been. Like Hannah said, I was always very curious about what about this idea of creativity and expression. I was born in an Italian-Argentinian home. I grew up in Buenos Aires. My mom is a painter, so I always thought that I wanted to follow my footsteps of my mother. And when I was a kid, there were a few situations. School wasn't fun at all. School was not something that I liked going to. I didn't have a particularly happy sort of school life. So I found that basically what got me out of that kind of negative feeling was drawing. And so at the beginning, there's this experimentation, this expression of drawing as a form to escape, right? To get away from the world in a way, and to feel secure in something. And so this was kind of like, in my mind, it was like this sort of opportunity to experience something as a kid that later on became something else. Later on with adolescence, you know, it was about expression. It wasn't so much about it was about experimentation, not expression. So as teenagers, we want to try things and we want to experiment, right? And that for me was Duino. And in Duino, Duino meaning UWC Adriatic, what started as a you know, two-dimensional reality in paper became, I want to now sort of try what it's like to sing and to dance and to sort of be with others, and that came with like the international evenings and the cooking and the dancing and the learning the African dances and the South American, you know, dances and songs, and so for me the really going to college was a great way to open up what today I found myself that I chose, which is performance and acting. It was the first time. It was incredibly formative for me. I was a disaster in all the kind of subjects. I wasn't great at many, but what it gave me was the chance to sort of fully realize this expression and using my creativity to then choose a life in the arts. So what is really kind of interesting in my perspective is that throughout my life, if I look at it, this pandemic has given me a place to kind of look at life in a very distant way, in a very kind of like a map, you know. I don't know about you guys. I know that everyone is in a different situation. You might be at home with your kids. You might be alone. You might be having to go to work. You might be an essential worker. You might be a student. So we're all finding ourselves in these very different confinement or not situations. And so that's why I say at the beginning, I'm in no way, shape, or form qualified to give a global view of anything, because we're all in such subjective situations, right? So, but what I found is that what does this pandemic mean to me, and how can and how do I look at the last 40 years until this moment, and what was that dream? Why did I have to go and experiment all these things? Today, I feel like, even though my career has largely become about acting and being in front of the camera, my core is storytelling, right? That's where I find the most kind of pleasure. And I mean, storytelling it could be from acting, from writing, from making short films, all kinds of storytelling. But that I found that has always been something that, or at least it encompasses everything that I touched. So Hannah, I have this idea. What do you think? That we all break out into different rooms, and in rooms of two, and maybe we tell each other, like 2 minutes each, what was that thing that you wanted to do when you were a kid? What was your first desire as a future of what you wanted to be? And what happened with that first thing? And it might be completely different from what you're doing now, but what was it, and what happened to that dream?
Let's do it. So I think Clara needs just to put us into breakout rooms, and we will randomly be mixed with somebody. And then
Yes.
You'll come back.
I will just open the rooms now, and if you have any issue, just come to the main room and speak with me.
Okay, see you on the other side.
Be on the other side.
I think we are all back in the main room now. Hannah, do you want to take over?
Yeah.
Leah has been an amazing host in the meantime.
Thanks, Leah, for being a host. Do we have Juan Pablo back? That's sort of relevant. There he is. Yes.
Boom. Sorry, I was muted.
Cool. So back to you. I had a lovely chat with your brother. Thank you.
Oh, you did? Oh, good. Oh, great. Isn't he awesome? I love my brother. He's amazing. He's in his house with his children, I'm actually the godfather of one of his children. Very proud to say. So yeah, well, we had a lovely chat with Caroline, and so now that we've kind of put it out there, that I'm pretty sure that most of us are not quite doing exactly what we started out with the desire to do. But isn't it amazing that there's a seed of something in that first thing that we wanted to do? There's a seed of it that we might still think about, or we might still, somehow wish we did, or we're doing in a different way. Maybe we're doing it with a different part of ourselves. Maybe before it was something that was very sort of intellectual, and now we're working with our hands. Or maybe before it was very, expressive, and now we're doing, I don't know, we're in an office thinking abstraction. So what I wanted to kind of talk about is this idea of where we are now, right? So what's happening now with all of us is sort of puzzling, in the sense that we are asked to entertain ourselves, or we're asked to stay in, a lot of us. And so what is the confinement doing to us? A lot of us are going crazy. I mean, I know that I did, for sure. And I feel like I found this amazing graphic online, which talks about the different stages of zones, the zones that we can find ourselves in during this pandemic, right? And I don't know, Clara, if we can share. Oh, there you go. Okay. So I don't know who made this, but I found it very interesting because, and talking to Hannah the other day, we kind of realized that, yeah, we've all been in all of those zones. So it's not like each person belongs to a different zone. Depending on where we were, where we are, where we were at the very beginning or now, we go into more of a fear situation, or we realize, well, screw it, I'm going to do my own thing. Or we get really proactive and go, no, I want to make something out of this pandemic. And then maybe tomorrow we go back to, actually, no, I want to be depressed and I want to watch Netflix and I want to eat, huge cake and then another, and then sleep some more. Or I can't do any of those things because I have to, I have a home and I have kids and I have to constantly be go. Whereas before, you had maybe time that the kids went to school, now you don't. So we are all in very different places of this, I feel. But it's interesting to know that there is an attitude, right? There is something we can do for ourselves, an attitude that we might want to shift if we find ourselves in the bad attitude, or the more kind of the one where you can't move. And something that connected to creativity that I found in my experience during this whole thing is that we are all of us are creative beings, right? Everyone in their life, everyone in their work, in their school, in their home life is constantly creating. And what I mean by that is we all have a point of view, right? So creativity is about a point of view. Like the reason why we love a Picasso or a Spielberg or a Meryl Streep is because they have a very definite personal point of view of something that, you know, if you don't sort of, it's like having a focus, right? So if we have this huge angle of everything, the point of view kind of makes you go really small into one point, and that is my point of view, and that's how I choose to live my life or tell the story or express myself. That's why we love these people, right? But we do that all the time. All of us do that every single day. We do that when we cook, you know, what kind of elements we put in the cake or the salad. You know, we do it at work. I mean, a doctor is creating constantly, because how can I approach this problem, and from what angle, and what can I discover about this thing? So thinking about this idea of creativity as an everyday thing is not just for people who work, you know, in operas and films. And how can creativity sort of help us maybe navigate a little bit, or get outside of ourselves? And so what I found during this pandemic that has been incredibly kind of like a breath of fresh air is that, how about doing something that gets me out of my comfort zone and that I've never done, or that I wanted to do, or that is not connected to my thing, right? How about, and maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's 7 minutes in the day, maybe it's just how you approach a certain task. I found, for example, one of my, you know, all-time kind of bucket list situations where I want to create. I want to have a series of my own. I want to create a series of my own, right? I want to do something and write it and produce it, and now, of course, the entertainment industry has stopped completely. As soon as it hit, you know, all of the auditions, the productions, everything shut down. It was immediate, like I'm sure a lot of your industries too. So I found myself, you know, this kind of expressive monster in my house going, what can I do with myself? Because I need to keep somehow expressing, producing, whatever. And so I was like, okay, what do I have? I have a camera, I have my computer, there's YouTube. What can I do? I have friends who are actors. And so I created this very stupid and ridiculous web series on YouTube about the minutia of life, right? And it gives me the chance to come up with something, whatever I'm feeling in the moment, if I'm low or depressed or high or euphoric, whatever it is, I talk about that, right? But I have to write it, and then I have to call the friend and go, hey, would you mind doing this with me? And then I have to shoot them on Zoom, and then I have to edit the thing, and then I have to put music in it, and all of that has given me such a relief, just putting, you know, that energy into this task weekly, that gets me outside of myself and outside of the pandemic and outside of the worrying of now. And I know that this is not everyone's situation, because a lot of you don't have the time to do something like that. But what can we do to find that thing that makes us get out of what we're used to doing, especially get out of the fear zone, right? To get out of the constant looking at the news and Trump and, you know, the numbers and the death toll, which are here. I mean, they're incredibly powerful and alarming. But if our day is long and our weeks are, you know, are long. So, oh, there you go. We're back on the thing. So what can we do to kind of get out of ourselves? Is it something that we're talking with Clara and Hannah about meditation? You know, some of us, can we take 5 minutes out of our day to like meditate or learn about a new type of meditation? Or I've always been very scared of anything scientific, in terms of scared as in I always found that I'm very null in learning mathematics. I was math studies, okay? That explains everything. And what's this? What's the easy science?
Environmental systems.
Environmental systems. That's it. So anything that's scientific for me was like, ooh, because I have a lot on one side, but I have very little on the other side, right? And so I started kind of, I got into astrology the other day, and the planets and metaphysics, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. And it's definitely not something that I would have done without this pandemic. And in terms of the YouTube thing, it's something that I always wanted to, but I never really had the time. I thought, oh, it's too big of a task. And what I discovered by doing it is, oh crap, I'm discovering a language. I'm discovering a voice, a point of view that in the back of my mind I thought I had, but now because it's tangible and I have to weekly make something new and talk about a new issue, and it's usually stupid menial issues that, you know, the whole concept is that this guy is obsessed with the most dumb things, and they really destroy him. So it's kind of like criticism to my own self and what I find ridiculous about myself, and how stupid those things are, and can I laugh about them, right? I think humor is our greatest weapon. And many times, but especially when there's you know, uncertainty and upheaval and some crisis, that's why, you know, these sort of huge Hollywood movie musicals happened when there were times of war, when people really needed relief, is when humor and comedy and music. And so, you know, I'm going to throw the ball to you to really think, what, you know, what did I do with that dream, or what is that thing that I wanted to do, or that one little, you know, activity that would totally take me out of me, my job, myself, my everyday life. Maybe that's, you know, doing a little cha-cha in your living room, or singing a song, or writing a poem, or making that spaghetti bolognese that you never made. Something that can take us out of the routine. Because I feel like at the beginning, this was the crisis of routine. You know, everyone was like up in the air. It's like, oh, what's my day gonna be? And now it feels, I don't know, I say before and now, because that, you guys are in my future. You guys have had it before, so I'm behind you. I'm in LA. In America, we're slower with this pandemic. So after the fear and after all that, like what is the new normal, and how do we create a new normal with this? What I, you know, when I talk about the role of creativity, and especially co-creation, and having a, like, light bulb moments, or things that you don't expect. I'm going to share a little story about last year. Last year I turned 40, and I thought, well, I want to do something. I want to do something big, right? When I'm 40, I want to do a party. I want to have a huge party, and I want to do it in Spain, because that's where my family and a lot of my friends are. And I thought, but I want a theme. I want to do something that has a theme, and people can have fun. We can all have a laugh, right? So I decided, well, I'm going to do a party where you're only allowed in if you come in drag. So you have to dress in whatever you're uncomfortable with. The other sex, whatever sex you want to dress in, but you have to come, you know, in a different gender. And what started like this stupid idea became probably the greatest night of my life, because it was so funny. Everyone was so uncomfortable. when they walked in the room and they were so having the best time. They didn't want to go home, right? My father was in heels. He looked like Caitlyn Jenner. You know, my mom had a huge beard and a dress on. So she was this pansexual being that looked like Einstein. My brother Federico was a tennis player, blonde, big boobs. And then I told people, I don't want gifts. I want performances. I want do something, whatever you want on stage, which kind of reminds me of the college. You know, we do that. We did that a lot. You know, we dressed up, we danced, we laughed, we inhabited different personalities, right? And so by the end of it, I thought, wow, this was not only one of the most fun parties I've ever had, but it was also such a revelation for a lot of people in terms of that playfulness, that child that we have inside, and what would you be like in the opposite sex? You know, I mean, I found out for myself, I didn't know this, right? I found out for myself that I'm a very vampy, pussycat type of woman, right? I wouldn't have known that if I didn't try that. My father was this elegant lady. So it was amazing. It was hysterical, but this playfulness, this co-creation situation made us all have probably like the most amazing time. So that was a little something to say what we create, what we put our energy in that we might not be comfortable with, like myself in this talk, because I am so nervous. Still, it's been half an hour, 37 minutes. I'm still nervous. Can bring us a lot of joy and can make us discover things that we didn't really know and that are exciting and that give us possibilities. I will throw it back to you, Hannah, because
Great, thanks so much. And yes, let's throw it back to everyone for comments and questions and a conversation, because I'm sure people will have comments on this. And I will call on Joseph because he told me that he had a question. And then just let me know who else wants to comment or ask a question.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Can you hear me? Everyone can hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
So it was really interesting, this exercise, thinking about the thing we wanted to be when we were a kid and what we've become, which is strange for me because always wanted to be a writer, write creatively, and that's what I do now. But I found the exercise interesting because what I thought a writer did when I was a kid is not at all, has nothing to do really with what my job is now and all the paperwork and dealing with agencies and dealing with publications and all that stuff. So, and it made me think, is that childhood fantasy we have, is it useful? Is it so separated from the realities of actually working and doing things? I mean, I was talking to Nilsa about this, and I feel much more like a plumber or a craftsperson. I just make sure my stories don't have holes in them, right? And it's much less of fantasy. And in a way, for me, that's good. It's good to live without a kind of dressed up fantasy that I needed to aspire to, or the kind of romanticism I had as a kid. I think maybe it's good, but maybe it's better to live in a reality which is a little more grounded now. Or am I missing something? Should I be looking back to that time and thinking about, is there something else about that fantasy I had, which because of the way I work now and the way I perceive writing, I've lost something that's important. So I guess my only point was really that even if you are doing the thing that you thought you would be doing, it's still useful to do that exercise, to come back and to examine the difference in perspectives from the childlike perspective and perspective of now.
And also, I think even when you are writing now, I'm sure that you have moments, even if there are moments where you get really excited about a new idea. You're like, what if I did, what if that character did that? Oh, that's awesome. That's great. So you still have that. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't continue writing. You probably have those moments, right? So
no, I still love what I do. Absolutely. I would never want to do anything else. It's just, yeah, it's just a lot less romantic, if you will. That I really feel like I'm punching holes in walls and building things, and it's much more like playing with Lego than, I don't know, singing a song or something.
Yeah. Well, maybe you can bring some of that to the writing.
Yeah, maybe. Indeed. Yeah.
Awesome.
We also have a comment from Niva.
Yes, hi.
Hi, Niva.
How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Thank you. Well, my boyfriend just shoved lettuce into my mouth before I started speaking. So, anyway, I'm an actress. I'm based in Tel Aviv, and I actually have a question about acting. Is that okay?
Of course. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
Cool. So I feel like I'm really bad at it.
Okay.
And what did you do when you felt you were bad at it?
Well, I think you never lose the feeling that you're bad at it. Like that goes with you all the time. You always think, am I good enough to do this job? Am I going to get fired tomorrow when you get the job? When you don't get the job, you're like, will I ever work again? Like, as actors, that's the normality. So you have to be comfortable with that. You have to be comfortable with knowing that there is no rule, there are no rules, and things might not be the way you want them to be. But what I did find is that perseverance, and however much you can learn about your craft, that you know, things that you didn't know, if that's a new dialect or an improv class, or yeah, go learn how to sing or move or this or that. Like, the more you can sort of keep training yourself, the better. But also just letting go of this idea that we are our art. We are not. Like, when I stopped having like the emotional sort of turmoil of being an actor was when I separated myself, Juan Pablo, from Juan Pablo the actor, right? Yes, this guy creates this guy, but when you go out there and you're made to feel like you're crap, or you're not, you know, you're bad at it, it's because you take it personally, and because you think, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, so why would anyone want to see what I do? When in fact, if you go, well, no, I'm this person, I'm gonna work on this, and if people don't like this, screw them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's me, that's not your cup of tea. That doesn't mean it's not good, it just means that it's not your cup of tea. So you go watch that thing over there, and I'll do this thing over here. I think that's the beauty of turning 40, is that you don't give a crap.
Oh yeah, I have 12 years until I'm 40.
Well, just get not giving a crap now, because your path is going to be way easier. I think the greatest sort of you know, the cross I feel like I had to bear for too long was giving a crap about others' opinions. So once I realized that that doesn't take me anywhere, then things became easier and more fun, actually. So yeah,
Thanks.
just don't stop experimenting.
Sounds good. And not give a crap.
Don't give a crap. But do it. Take it seriously, but don't give a crap.
Yeah. I'll also take that seriously.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
We have Mariana next.
Yes. Hi, everybody.
Hi,
I went to Swaziland, and I graduated. I'm in UWC in Swaziland, and I graduated in 2001. It feels like it was yesterday, but it was almost 20 years ago, which is actually really frightening. I'm also an artist. I'm an actor and a producer, and I also live in LA, so we're pretty close, Juan Pablo.
Oh, cool. We should connect.
Yeah. Yeah, we will for sure. I'm stalking you. No, I'm not. But anyway, I want to say thank you to Caroline. That was the one who told me about this chat, and thank you for the little activity that you set up for us, because I actually got to meet Kimberly, who left. She had to do another meeting. But this is crazy, and I want to share it with you because this was quite something. She once, okay, I went to UWC. I decided that I wanted to be an actor, and then I went and trained in the UK. I became an actor, and I lived in the UK in London for 8 years. I set up a theater company, Caviar and Chips. And then after a while, I was like, I want to act in Spanish because I've never acted in Spanish. And there's something about your mother tongue that, you know, the feelings that you know how to access in your own language, it's very different from doing it in English. So I decided I wanted to move to Mexico. Why not? I'd never been to Mexico before, and I went and I loved it. And I was like, okay, I have to stay here for a while. And I did loads of acting, movies, TV shows. And one day I was going through one of those crises that you guys are talking about, that I was like, oh, my UWC friends are doing really meaningful work, you know, they're helping farmers to have like proper rights. And another friend of mine is a journalist, and another friend of mine in Norway does this, and I'm just acting. I mean, that's so superficial. So I was going through that crisis, you know, that I'm actually changing nobody's life, and maybe I wanted to get a job in acting that I could combine those two things, that I could help people, but I could also, explore my way of expression. And a month later, it was insane. I booked this job called paramedics, like EMTs, right? And everything was with the Red Cross. And Kimberly, who I got into the room with because of your activity, she worked at Red Cross in Canada for 20 years or 30 years. And I, after I did the show called Paramedics, after first season, I became a paramedic. And so in Mexico City, which allowed me to help people through a character that I fell in love with. And then we did 3 more seasons. But it's crazy how if you wish something, and if there is always a way to combine, because we live in a world that is so complex and it's so interconnected, that it's so hard to believe that one thing it's very far away from another, you know? So I just wanted to share that with you. And I just happened to be in the same room with Kimberly, who worked for Red Cross, which is an organization that I feel I belong to, although I'm an actress. And for example, when we had the earthquake in Mexico City in 2017, which was really strong, I forgot about acting, and I was actually shooting the 3rd season of Paramedics, and we dropped our cameras and all of that, and we went to serve as paramedics for a month to help, you know, people and well, all the things that we needed to do in a city that was completely devastated. So well, nothing. Thank you for this opportunity, and let's connect, because we're closer than what we think in this pandemic. I really think so.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the story. That's incredible. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. But never feel like, I don't know, I've had that thought before. I was like, oh, I'm just an actor. But we choose our profession as well, because it's something we can, like, it's from where we can also help.
Yeah.
Especially in this time, for example, a lot of people say, yes, television is not essential working, but actually is bringing people a lot of relief, right?
Yeah.
So be proud of, you know, we have to be proud of what we do, because it's our
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Our way to give back too.
No, and storytelling is huge. It was one of those moments where I was, where I was doubting, also because of what you guys said, because it becomes really frustrating at some point, especially when you're younger. You feel like, it's like you say, every time that you finish a job, you're like, when am I going to be hired again? You know, It could be tomorrow, or it could be in 3 months or a year.
Yeah.
The uncertainty. But I think it's good to be, and I think somehow being an actor or being an artist, to have the uncertainty of things in our daily life has helped me deal with this. The uncertainty of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
we all want a selfie of coffee you will have once we can meet again in an LA. I have Benito next on the list, and then Carlos, Gentiana, and Aris. So
perfect.
Benito next.
Hi, thank you very much for, first of
Benito.
all, thank you, Hannah, thank you, Juan Pablo, that was very interesting. And also it's nice that we jump from one age to another. I'm now in Salamanca, I'm Spanish, and you might know the city, the little town, Salamanca is a lovely place here in Spain. And to be honest with you, this is the first day we have had lovely weather, because it has been raining and miserable. But well, let's go. Thank you so much. It has been really interesting. I really have that. What you have said has made me think, and also I've got a couple of questions for you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The first one would be, at any stage of your confinement, of your lockdown, of being alone, or you might be accompanied by someone, but I guess you, as it happens to me, I live alone, and it has it ever come through your mind a need of a change, something, a reason why in your meditations or confronting yourself to your own self, you know, your interior, have you ever met you know, the challenge of changing, of making a turnabout of your life? And the second question, which is more like a future seer, you know, I've got many friends in the, you know, in the field of art, many artists and singers, and I've been dealing with music, and so how do you see the future of after this pandemic? Are you pessimistic? Do you think the world will accept that we need you, that we really cannot survive without people like you who bring beauty into the life of the rest of humanity? Thank you so much.
Thank you for the questions. Wow, they're cool. So answering your first question, absolutely. I think the need to change has been probably a #1 factor in this pandemic, in my experience, and realizing there is so much crap that doesn't serve me, that I've been carrying for a long time into routine. It sort of made itself part of my life, you know, the worrying about things that I shouldn't worry about, or spending time doing things that don't serve me. And this idea of change, of going, wait a second, and you're able to have this situation, is like, what is really helping and what is not helping? And so absolutely, there has been, and #1 of those is, if I am a storyteller, if this is my dream job, you know, if I can like jump time and go, okay, what I want to happen in 10 years, and if I want to be you know, a filmmaker, for example, in my case, what am I doing to achieve that, right? So it's putting in motion all the wheels now to go, okay, now that I can, I'm living by myself as well. In fact, you're right now, what you see is the set of my web series. So that was like the first step to go, okay, well, if I'm going to do that, then I'm going to start doing it right now with what I have, you know, without the technology, without producers and editors and whatever. I'm just going to do it here, in the here and now, right? That was #1 step. And also to get knowledgeable about YouTube, because I had no idea really about algorithms and analytics and this and that. So that's something in terms of changing. Also, I'm becoming a vegetarian because I love animals. I'm an advocate for like animals, and I was still eating meat.
That's very good for our Argentinian, isn't it?
Yeah, it's terrible. It's really hard. It's really hard. But I'm like, you know what? I even did a campaign for PETA and for Mercy for Animals, but I'm still eating meat. So I thought, I'm not being coherent with stuff. So it's tough, but it's something new. It's a challenge, and I welcome it, and I'm happy that I'm not dying of hunger or malnourishment. Okay, so the other question was about if I feel that it's going to have any importance to be an artist in the future, right?
Yes, yes. Your own
Um,
opinion and what you
my
see
opinion.
around you, what your mates, your friends think about that. You see.
I
Are
mean,
you
I think
optimistic?
it's changing. The industry is changing rapidly, so it's really about adapting. How do we adapt to this? Just had a talk with an actress from London who wants to do a series like this in Zoom, and it's not about the pandemic. It's a series about 5 people talking about a film club, and she picked 7 actors from around the world, and we're all going to do this weekly. And so that's a way to adapt to the times, because we all need entertainment. I mean, let's face it, the world might be suffering, and what people turn to right now is television, it's social media, which is not really healthy. I'm not saying is the healthy way to be hooked to entertainment. But talking to Warner Brothers, I had a chat with Warner Brothers 2 weeks ago, and they were saying, I asked them, what do you see, like, what's the landscape like? And they're like, people want comedy. Like, we all want to laugh. We want to be entertained. We want to sort of smile a little bit. So I think the future is actually just adapting to whatever we're going through, using whatever we have. And yes, art is fuel. I don't see art disappear.
So you are optimistic. You yourself, you are optimistic.
Absolutely, I am.
You
I am, and I have pessimistic friends, and there's all kinds of views. But my point of view is, I choose to see this pandemic as something productive to learn from, and to go, okay, what can I do with the now? What can I do?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Juan Pablo. Thank you.
Okay, can I suggest we take the 2 next questions together? The first one is from Carlos, and then from Gentiana. Carlos, do you want to go first?
Sure. Well, hello, everyone. I've attended a couple of these talks now, and I have to say they're awesome. I'm really enjoying them. It's a really new, different way to experience the UWC community. So I'm Carlos. I went to LPC in Hong Kong, and I graduated in 2010. And I'm originally Venezuelan, now currently live in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And I'm a designer. I work mostly now with digital design, but I studied architecture and have at several point or another, been very involved with a lot of creative work. And I have to say that I wanted to bring a couple of reflections, I guess, and then one question. But then the first one is that I think I really resonate my own journey, my own experience with things that people have been saying here, sort of how to use creative thinking and expression, art, visualization as forces for good and reflection and impact, I guess, if you want to say that. And that in and of itself has been a very interesting experience, but I do echo some thoughts here that say, I think that moving forward, it's very clearly, a very technological world we're very quickly accelerating into, and a lot of, things that we see online, there's a lot of technology algorithms behind that. And so I think in the face of such a kind of hard world, like data-driven world, I feel like creativity, human thinking and feeling is always going to be relevant. So in that sense, I think I also have, a big commitment to sort of creative work and its role in society that way. I think creative thinking is what we need now more than ever, I think. And so I guess there's that reflection, one, and two, sort of my own experience as a creative person through a pandemic has been wild. I work with computers and technology a lot, but I also have to say that I miss the sort of studio feeling of just doing things with my hands, or like putting Post-its here and there, just sort of having that very sensorial experience that it is to also create. So having seen all of that go from reality to like computer has been interesting. And I was wondering if you had tips, I guess, from acting. This is my question a little bit, because I feel like all of a sudden my work, which was very tool-based and stuff, is also now having to happen sort of on screen. And I have to say that that has brought an interesting dynamic to sort of feeling like I'm in call after call after call. And I feel like if you have some tips as an actor for sort of prolonged and stamina, I guess I would say.
Stamina?
Yeah, sort of how to cope with this world in which a lot of our work and a lot of our creative work is now happening on screens, like everywhere. And
Right.
I feel like that has an extra sort of cognitive charge.
Okay.
But yeah, otherwise it's really nice to see everyone here. Like sort of, I've clearly been very inspired and like lots of thoughts generated due to the reflections that you'll been bringing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Hannah,
Carlos. And we'll
would
go,
you
yeah, hold on to that question, and then we'll have Gentiana.
Hello.
Hi, Argentina.
So I'm at UWC Master currently, class of 2020. Yeah, and like, I don't know, during this pandemic, I find myself stuck on campus because I can't go home yet. I'm just, I guess, trying to find what to do with this time and just kind of trying to explore more, let's say, creative facets, like drawing, painting, etc., etc. Yeah, my question, I guess, is just how do you start exploring just any side of yourself? Just how do you start anything, be it creative or just like from another aspect, without feeling, and like how do you battle that feeling of incompetence that you have at first, and like how do you power through that, I guess, in order to turn something that you start just to deal with boredom into something that can sustain you, and like, and you can sustain for a much longer time, and you can take something out of, and you can like truly have as a learning experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, I'll start with this question. Well, first of all, I loved Maastricht when I went there last year. It really has been one of the highlights of my adult life to see that you guys are like, nothing has changed, you know? We as UWCers have this romantic idea of what we lived, and then we're like, oh, probably that's changed, maybe it's different. No, like it was so beautiful to see this generation of students like carry this awesome, you know, openness and fluidity about life, and I loved it. So kudos to you for being there and wanting to wanting to do something creative. My only sort of tip or advice, if anything, in terms of starting something from scratch and you don't know, it's always to go back to this idea of being a kid and being sort of innocent, right? When we were kids, it wasn't really hard to come up with a crazy storyline or a drawing, or you would dance around the house with abandon, right? Or you would sing top of your lungs and didn't care about this idea of, is it good or am I doing it right? Which is the enemy of the artist. But so you have to sort of fight that. So I would say, like, if you don't know what, just go back to that time when you were a kid and you're like, well, what did I, or just put on a piece of music and start dancing or singing. Do you know what I mean? Or pick up a pen and a piece of paper and go, well, I want to make this, I don't know, this collage or this paint or this drawing of my room, or and the key is not to judge it. Don't judge it. Like, don't judge the process. Don't judge the paint, the thing that you're doing, because that's what stops us. You know, there's an improvisation in acting. There's improv, which I find incredibly hard. But an improv class to improvise, which, you know, for an actor to improvise is scary because you don't have the words. You don't know. Oh, you're like, what am I gonna? So in the improv class, the number one thing is to yes and yes and means to grab whatever idea is out there and run with it and not judge it. Continue the process.
And go with
What's
it.
up?
Just embrace it and go with it.
Just embrace it. Just embrace it and go with it. And if you're being completely ridiculous, go with the ridiculous and see where ridiculous can take you. Or if you're being incredibly, dense and poignant, see where that takes you. If it's writing a short story, whatever it is, just go with it, because don't let inhibition kind of stop you. That would be the advice. Just play with it. Think you're a child, and then go with it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then, where are you? Was it Roberto? No. Anyway, I forgot your name. Sorry. Carlos. So Carlos, I would say, it's funny because I've been obsessed with this new show, Making the Cut, which is about designers and fashion. Amazon has it. It's kind of like Project Runway. I love shows about designing clothes and whatever, because it's so creative. I love how you guys can grab a concept, or a stone or a something and turn it into a garment. I love that. Maybe in another life I would have been a designer because I find it amazing. But in this digital era, I would say, can you not like repurpose something that you have at home and turn it into something else? Like, use what you have. You were saying that you miss using your hands, right? So why not go back to the source, go back to the hands, and maybe not for work, maybe not, for something that you're designing in the company, but something for you, or something for your mom, or something for your cat. Like, using the hands again, going back to that original thing that made you want to do it. That would be my advice for you, Carlos. If this advice is at any point at all, because I feel like I'm giving advice on stuff that I don't know, but I think going back to the source and what's the reason, like, what is that primal desire to express? And if it's the hands, go back, or maybe use the hands to bake, because there's something quite powerful about using our hands, even if you're not, if you don't use them every day. It's so basic but essential to reconnect with our senses in that way. So now we have the chance to maybe explore that again. So that would be my thing. Just make some clothes at home and don't sell them, or maybe sell them if they're amazing.
Okay, so Juan Pablo was just speaking before about the fact that there's Juan Pablo the person and Juan Pablo the actor, and or the artist, and obviously we can't let him go without also showing us the artist persona, and we'll get to that in a second. Aris had a question, so that will be the last one I'll take, if you could keep it relatively short.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, Aris.
Aris, hi.
Hi.
I went to UWC Atlantic and I'm a medical student. However, my question is, bringing up, and I was raised being creative, doing a lot of extracurricular activity, so artsy. However, I have a simple question. First of all, how can we define creativity, and how do we integrate it in our daily life reality? And could it be actually that the creativity is restricted and limited sometimes by reality? How do we overcome this obstacle? Because for me, it's a big problem that I can't find the right balance to find, or to like my true self, to express my true self, let's say. So yeah.
Can you be more specific about that difficulty? Like, where do you find that difficulty?
For example, for me personally, it's time, let's say, because I'm a medical student and I have to study all the time, let's say. But as well, I can't find, let's say there's not so many platforms available. I'm a Palestinian living in Israel, and I study now in Hungary. Therefore, it's very hard for me. It's not available as it was when I was in Atlantic, when I was abroad studying, if you know what I mean. And this is because maybe where I come from, but also let's take in mind that there's also a third party who actually doesn't have the ability even to express creativity because they simply don't have the facility to do it, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, well, this is a test, isn't it? Like, this whole situation is a test in testing us to see how we cope with whatever we're given, right? Whatever we have available at our fingertips. And yeah, some people have more available and some people have way less, like your situation. I mean, so what, maybe the question that you should ask yourself is, what do I have around me? What is it? What specific tangible things or ideas? I mean, you have 2 hands, 2 legs, a brain, eyes, senses. You probably have water. You probably can go and, be close to a tree or a plant, so that in itself is already something, right? So even if you might not have what you need exactly to create something that you had before, what is it that you might use? Like, that's creativity, getting creative with what you have. It's a challenge.
mm-hmm.
But what do you have that in the here and now that you could participate in creatively, that would bring some relief to you, or that would make you get out of yourself a little bit. So in Argentina, there's this saying that is, we tie everything with wire, meaning we don't need all of the greatest elements to create. We just need wire to make something, to make a sculpture, right? So ask yourself if there is something you can do from where you are in what you have, because I am sure you will find something. I am sure. So just ask yourself that question.
True. For me, it was literally about not having the time, because my question was more about people who are more or less privileged, because I can see a lot in the community who do not have, let's say, the ability to do it. However, for me, it's a bit different that I was privileged to be given that opportunity. So I wanted to understand what is the definition then of the creativity, because I need to understand it so I can implement it. So just your opinion, if you can, a small phrase, what is creativity?
I think the definition, from what I understand, is expression. Like, creativity is just a way to express something. I'm not talking about writing a play or making a sculpture. I'm talking about expressing something, whatever it is. It's that point of view that you feel is important to you in this moment. That is creativity. That is grabbing an idea, a concept, a thing, an element, and giving it a point of view, expressing something. That's why I meant that when I said earlier we are all creative beings, is because we always express every single day. When we make breakfast, we're expressing something. When we decide what to watch, we are expressing something. So yeah, I mean, time is a tough one, because a lot of people don't have it. So can we, I don't know, wake up 5-10 minutes before to meditate? And that's an act of creation, just waking up 5 minutes before to get 5 minutes in, where you're like deciding to do something for yourself. Maybe that's something to think about.
That's what I should do. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks so much. And Juan Pablo, you do know that I won't let you go without also showing us the artist side of you. So I think, if I understood it correctly, you brought a little present for us, which
God.
I think we should hear now.
You think we should? Oh, crap. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, okay. This is just another element of getting out of the comfort zone, maybe to inspire you to do the same. I love singing. I love singing, but I also like it gives me anxiety, so I'm going to do it anyway. This is a song I wrote. I'm going to do it a cappella. Called Without You. I hope to release it soon in this pandemic, I'm sure. Anyway, Call Without You. I wrote it with an awesome guy, awesome composer in London. Don't forget to remind me of the good days that we had, 'cause sometimes I get caught up in my worries and I don't know who I am. So slowly we were dancing as the hours slipped away and the night came to an end in a hurry. Such a shame you couldn't stay. One last time, I wish that I could go back, wish that I could hold you closely one last time. Now I'm living without you, without you. It's like I'm living a half life here without you, yeah. It's like I'm living a half life here. Done.
Wow. Bravo.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I think people can also unmute themselves to thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you, Juan
Thank
Pablo.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Obrigada.
This was so
There
fun.
were quite some words of wisdom on the chat as well, if you want to have a look. Francois, I also see you that we have more singers and musicians here, so I think this should be the start of a UWC online concert we should put up.
Yes.
There you go.
With all the actors and everybody in here. So be in touch, send us an email. We can have the creative UWC Unlocked Talks. And otherwise, just thanks everyone for joining. It was lovely to see you. Thanks a lot, Juan Pablo, for your time and for sharing your ideas and being with us outside of the comfort zone. And see all of you hopefully on one of the next UWC Unlocked Talks. And until then, be well. And I hope this reminds you that we are very connected despite the distance between all of us.
Thank you so much, Hannah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
So much. Take care. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.